Okay.
All right, Dad.
Yes.
March 2nd, 2015. Want to find out a little bit about your history, the whole history, even though I've already asked you about it.
Okay.
Let's start off.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
In Zamość, Poland.
And at the time you were born, how many children did your mother already have?
Now you're getting to be a little off the page. I guess at that time, let's see, 4 of us and seven before 7.
7 before you.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so you were the 8th child, and your brother Jerry later on was number 9. Who were the 7 before you?
My
In birth order.
and Benjamin. The first one was Sarah, then Benjamin, then Sam, then Rochelle, then Miriam. I think one was in between that died.
Died as a stillborn or as a baby later on?
No, stillborn. And then I have Miriam and then Jerry. Me and Jerry.
So it was Sarah, Benjamin, Rachel, Machtel, a miscarriage, and you. So you were the 6th.
And yeah. So
And then Jerry was the 7th.
7. Okay.
Okay. No. Okay. Were all of you born in the same town?
I am sure of it, yeah.
And how long was your family in that town before? Like, how many generations before on both sides?
That is, unfortunately, I don't know.
Do you remember any of your grandparents?
None. Except I met my grandfather over here one time when we came to America, and then he passed away. He was 95.
So your grandparent, whose side was that?
My mother's side.
He left the United States?
They all left to the United States in the 1920s.
Well, you said they all, your mother's whole side?
The whole side except one sister she had, one and remained in Poland with I think 8 or 9 children and grandchildren and son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, and they all perished.
How many children did your mother come from? Do you know?
Well, let's see. I think it was 3 brothers, 2 sisters, 3 sisters, and that's it.
So it was 6 of them altogether. And they all left the United States except... So your mother never... You don't remember your mother telling stories? I grew up in this house down the road.
Never remember that. We were all young, and I presume that most likely we all lived around that area.
How about your father's side? Any...
My father's side, I don't know anybody. I know that he had a nephew that was in Russia with us together too. And they went to Israel. One of the sons were in America, came down to see me. The author. Remember Moshe?
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah. That's the only one that I know of. I don't remember a grandfather, I don't remember a grandmother. Never had any in my time.
So, but in that town, it was, I guess, a lot of people grew up where their parents grew up. Like there wasn't a lot of movement.
No,
right?
The parents lived close to the kids lived close to their parents.
When you
Or at times they even lived together.
Now you've told me many times like your father was older, but when you were born, was your father in his 30s or 20s or 40s?
You're asking hard questions. I don't know.
Approximately.
I don't know.
Okay, so he passed away in 67. What age do they think he was around?
We think he died when he was about 83.
Okay, so he was born in 1880s. So when you were born, he was already then, that makes almost 50. He was in his late 40s. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have his, you don't remember, he never mentioned anything about his side. Do you remember his, now I know you moved out of that town when you were pretty young. I'm not going to ask where yet, but like, how old were you when you left Samish?
About 6, I think.
Okay, so that way you don't...
I know they registered me into school and I never made it. Because at that time,
The war.
the war broke out.
But when you played with the kids when you were 4 or 5 years old, they were relatives besides your...
I don't remember any of that such thing.
What was your father's occupation before the war?
Fish business.
Like he sold...
Wholesale, retail fish.
Now, how did they do it back then? Was he a fisherman, or did he have to go and buy? I'm very curious
Fish
about
and sell fish.
What?
Like the store, like the retail stores over here.
But they didn't.
They don't go and.
But he didn't have cars or trucks in a poor town like that.
No, those days there were no cars and trucks.
But so where would he go to get his fish?
Most likely delivered.
They would
These are
come
things
to.
that I.
Did he have a store, or
He
did
had
he?
a store.
Do you remember the name of it?
Chaim Yankel.
Was it? No, you.
I don't know.
Okay. Was your town only
You
Jewish?
gotta realize one thing before you ask these questions, because you might ask another question like that. We at those days, there were hardly any computers, There were hardly any telephones, and there was no such thing as knowing what the name or was. I was a kid, 6 years old.
No, okay, I do remember
If
that.
you would have asked my sister, Sarah, she would have known.
But
she knew neighbors. She knew.
I'm asking, was the Perel fish store the only fish store, or was there another one down? So was it known by a different name?
I am sure they had competitors.
Okay, but if you had to relate, how big of a town was it? Would you say
Samish, as I understand.
Was it a 3-street town? Was it?
Now you're putting us down altogether.
No, it's
it was a big town. As I understand, this was one of the largest Jewish towns in Poland.
I'll tell you what I'm picturing. I'm picturing Fiddle on the Roof.
No, it's not Fiddle.
Anastasia.
No, that's Fiddle. I was in a certain area during the war, that is Fiddle on the Roof, in Siberia, yes. But in Poland, that town was a very big town, and a big Jewish population. The writer Paris, did you ever hear of him?
The writer?
Paris, the Jewish writer Paris, one of the big authors, Paris.
Oh, Perez.
Yeah.
Like P-E-R-S. P-E-R-E-S.
Right.
Yeah.
He came from our town. And we were close to Warsaw, as I understand, and we were close to Lublin. It was Gubernia of Lublin. Now, Gubernia of Lublin means like Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
We belong to Manhattan.
The suburbs
Exactly.
of. So, if you had to now as an adult think about it, do you think there were 10,000, 30,000?
I think that it was over 10,000 Jews in our town.
And was it only Jews, or do you?
No, Polacks.
It was
Very
mixed.
anti-Semitic, sure.
So you weren't at that time. You were integrated as a community.
Sure.
Okay.
But the Jews, naturally, they try to live around their own immediate surroundings. But yes, it was integration.
Do you remember going to daven with your father on weekends?
Every
or
Saturday.
Not during the day. Not during the week, though.
My father, she rest in peace, he used to go every day, twice a day. But I went every Shabbos, I remember, taking me by hand, and we crossed the street, and we went into the shul. The shul was marble. The whole entire shul was marble. The top was all the women, all around the shul. The bimah was all marble. It was a beautiful shul.
What age were you? Sorry, what was the first thing you remember about trouble, knowing that you were different and that it was trouble for being a Jew?
As soon as they, first of all, as a kid, I remember that the anti-Semitism in Poland was great, very big.
Were you told by your parents keep away from this? And...
Sure. And we knew that there was a lot of problems as far as the Poles. They were very bad, in general, to the Jews. And when I really learned what anti-Semitism was, is when we came to Russia. And after the first 2-3 years that we were there, and I went to school, that's the time it came on top of it.
Let's say Amish. When you were growing up 4 or 5 years old, who was living in your house?
4 or 5 years old was Matel and Jerry, Sam, and Benjamin, and myself.
Okay, Benjamin wasn't married?
No, he was gone with a lawyer woman. In fact, when they occupied us and took us away in Russia, she managed to run away and come to our town, but it never materialized.
And Sarah was married?
She was married.
How far away did she live?
I don't know.
Houses? A couple of houses?
Yeah, close.
When you say town, were the buildings 2-floor buildings or anything higher than that?
There was 10, 15-story buildings too.
In your town?
Yeah, sure.
So it was a city, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm picturing a town.
No, it's not fiddle on the roof.
So, Moshe, Moshe, your brother-in-law, did his family around too, or was he the only one from his family?
No, his family was there, but they were all killed, except...
This is before the war we're talking.
Yeah, or before. His family was there too.
So, all right, so the first sign to you that your parents were saying something has to be done. Did Benjamin, I know Benjamin went in the army. Was Benjamin the first to go, or did your parents say we have to go? Like how?
No, we all packed up, and ran away.
But the plan was for...
We had to run away or get killed.
So you already knew something was happening?
They came in. They came into our house.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like, tell me about that. Like, what was the first sign?
They came into the house.
And I'm sorry, let me just stop you. Did your parents have a radio in the house?
Sure, we had a radio.
Okay, so your parents were listening and knew every day something was happening around the world?
Yeah, sure we knew.
So this is like 1939?
1939, I think, if I'm not mistaken, around September.
Okay, so now, I'm sorry for interrupting. What?
This is the beginning of the war.
Yeah, so now tell me what's happening.
What happened was, as soon as the Germans came into our town, they came into each and every house. Mainly, I remember they were looking for liquor, because they wanted liquor. So they came in, and we had a china closet with drawers. They pulled out all the drawers and threw it on the floor with all the stuff, whatever. And whatever they wanted, they took. Okay? And right at the on the side of our building, they made a big trench. And they took people, men, they shot them and
what made them choose that man? Were they troublemakers? Were they
no.
leaders
They
of the town?
they took away all the men. My father was away.
But why not your father and your brother?
My brother, not Sam, Benjamin. They took him away into a school, and they questioned him and whatever they did, and then they ran away. They came back to us, and we ran away. We knew right away that that's...
But before the war, Sam was already in his late teens. Was he working? I mean, not Sam, Benjamin.
Benjamin was working. What work I done?
You don't remember, like, for your dad or for... Okay. So, so when they came, you decided to run. Did you even know... Oh, by the way, when this was happening, when the Germans came in, did you hear, like, was there resistance? Was the Polish army...
No resistance.
The Polish army just moved out of the way, or were they fighting, like, near your border, where you were?
I don't ever remember of seeing anybody fighting the Germans. They went through the town like...
So they didn't bomb your town, just the German...
They bombed.
Okay, so they did have to fight an army then?
They bombed. They wanted to kill as many people as possible.
Well, that would have been usually like they were fighting the army too. But you're saying like they pushed right through and went right into your town?
They pushed through all Europe, most of Europe.
But we're talking
they pushed
about...
through France.
We're talking about your town?
Yeah.
But you don't,
yeah.
you don't remember like Polish soldiers running back in retreat or anything like that?
I don't remember that, no.
Okay. So your family said you had to go. Did they have any idea where they could go, where would be safe?
Well, at that time, I remember we had a horse and carriage. We took a couple belongings, and we went through, don't ask me which towns, we went through, and on both sides of the road, the trees were burning from the bombs. And at that time, I remember as a kid, they used to say, if the Germans throw from the planes candy or whatever it is, or cigarettes, don't take it because it's poison. And going through the town, all of a sudden, in back of us was Nazis with the three-wheel motorcycles ran after us, and they stopped us. And then they offered my father a cigarette that I'll remember distinctly, offered a cigarette, and he was afraid to take it, and he took, and he had a lighter, he lit the lighter and gave it to him first, take it. Then my father took it. And we went from there to a town, Lodz, which was a big Jewish town too. Very big town. We went in over there and we ran into a synagogue because there was no place else to go.
Did you know at that time that they were after the Jews, or you just thought you just thought they were conquering Poland and killing all of you?
I don't think that I was bright enough to realize that it was the Jews and not Jews. At that time, they invaded Poland.
Now,
they invaded Czechoslovakia. They invaded the...
Now, was it the young men like Moshe and Benjamin that pushed your dad that we got to leave, or was it your father that you don't remember?
I'm sure
so he wasn't still
part of the decision.
So he wasn't. You don't remember, like if it was the young men saying we should stay and fight, or the young men saying we should leave, or
there was no such thing as fighting because what were you able to fight with? What?
I understand
a
that.
Stick? They didn't even have sticks.
I understand that. I'm just.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thinking, is it the older person I would think would want to maybe stay behind, and the younger people saying we got to get out of here.
No. What I remember distinctly, we ran because we ran away for our lives. My sister, she had already one daughter. She was with us. We all ran.
So Miriam was born already.
Miriam was, yeah. We all ran, and we came into Lodz, and at that time it was, you remember Stalin and
And Hitler's pact?
Hitler had a pact,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, Russia came in to the town of Lodz and took us away. And they took us into cattle trains.
Did you think you were being protected from the Germans?
No.
You knew something.
At that point, Germans did one job, and Russia did another job.
Because at that time, if you moved, you didn't have. I'm sure you didn't have your radio anymore because you didn't have electric. So, how did you?
We didn't have to have a radio. The bombs were gone.
But you didn't think that they were the Germans' enemy. That maybe they're helping us.
Who?
The Russians.
That's it.
Like as Poles, you didn't think that the Russians were there to help you fight against the Germans?
No. At that point, Russia had a pact with them.
But how'd you know about the pact?
Yeah,
You went,
and they went to conquer as much territory as possible. So they came into Poland, and the Lodz was Polish. It wasn't far from Russia, and they took us away. And we were locked up for about a year and a half, I think, in a kolkhoz, which means a village. And they took my father, he was cutting trees.
This is in Russia.
In Russia, okay? But until we came to that point, we all were sick because we couldn't even go to a bathroom. It was all cattle trains. There's little windows on top, that's all we had. But we came there, they took everybody away. My older brother, Benjamin, they took him away to another place, the Russians, and we didn't see him for a long period of time. We came to that time in Mariska Respublika, I remember it. Me as a kid and Jerry, they took us away to Детский Sad. The Детский Sad means children's, what is it?
Like a kindergarten?
Like a kindergarten.
At that time, the only language you spoke was Polish.
Polish and Jewish.
You spoke Yiddish?
Sure. And what happened was, my father was cutting the trees. My brother-in-law, Morris, was cutting the trees too. Sam was cleaning toilets. Not cleaning toilets. During the winter, what do they call it outside bathroom?
Outhouses.
Yeah, hot houses. Not like here. This would be probably a big thing. Outside was a hole. You didn't have anything to sit down, and you didn't have those paper things, okay? And you sat down, and you were hoping that everything is coming out okay. And wintertime, they made him chop because it was like a mountain, okay? He had to chop it. And how old was he? 16, 17? So that was his job. Rachel, they made a load sand on top of train. You know how heavy sand is? My mother, they put her into a restaurant to cook. Now when I say a restaurant, it's not a restaurant, it's a...
Cafeteria?
It's for the whole entire area.
Like a kitchen.
It's a kitchen, but it's called a stolova.
A soup kitchen, like.
And I remember
Lucky people having bubbies cooking.
And what happened was, I remember that because she brought home some. They gave her soup to make from whole wheat flour. It couldn't stick, So this whole soup was a mishmash, the whole thing. But since my mother was a real good cook, she brought that soup, we squeezed out the water, and we had a stove in there with a wood.
Now, where in Russia is this?
This was Mariinska Respublika. It was on the 11th hill, they called it. I don't know. Okay? We were there about a year and a half. And then they took us to a bigger town already. At that time, my older brother came back already, and he became a big shot in a place where they had the beans, wheat, rice. It was a whole, I remember, a couple blocks long with all kinds of,
Storage facility?
storage facilities. At that time, we started living up a little because my brother brought home lentils in his pants. He had underwear, the long underwear, tied up and threw it inside, and came home, we had lentils. And that was already a little more normalized, because at that time Hitler and Stalin were already apart. They were fighting each other.
Now, do you think this was like, were you 7 or 8 by then?
Probably 6, 7.
And you
8.
still didn't go to school? Did you learn to read
No,
or write?
No, I went to Детский сад, kindergarten.
So in Russia. So,
Yeah.
so then you learned to speak Russian there.
Oh, sure. And that was easy because, let's face it, when you're 7, it's not when you're 80.
So basically, you, Jerry, and Matel,
Matel didn't go to school. They wouldn't let her go to school. Matel was taking care on Miriam while Sarah went to work. Matel went to Polish school in Poland, but in Russia she didn't have that chance.
She's about 3 years older than you, right?
Something like that.
Okay. So then from there, what happened?
Well, we were there quite a few years in Yoshkar-Ola, Mariinska Respublika, Barak Adin. That was, we were already, had more freedom, almost the same freedom as the Russians had.
Do you remember, again, was there any, was there a rabbi? Did your dad go to services?
Rabbi? In Yerushalayim was a rabbi.
But I know, but your father I'm just asking the question. I don't know.
The question is,
Did your father, because some of the men that were religious before, did they go someplace to try to daven together?
in a basement that nobody knew, that nobody was allowed to.
Like, I know you weren't of age, but I'm sure there were some men, some boys coming bar mitzvah age. Did some of the Jews try to get together and do, a little thing in the basement?
Right. What happened was that I remember my mother, should rest in peace, hired an old man, supposedly before the war he was a rabbi or whatever. He came in to the house and he was teaching me how to daven, to read. That's as far as Judaism was concerned during the war, during in Russia. I do remember, and that's why I know it distinctly, my sister Rachel, we received letters very frequent from Benjamin when he was in the army. And he wrote a letter because I wrote him the first Russian letter in Russian, and wrote me back that he was so happy that my brother wrote me a letter, and everybody was happy at that time. And a week later, which was Rosh Hashanah, my father was in a basement with another 10 people davening. I wasn't there. There was no room for us anyway. And what happened was my sister ran and she had a letter that my brother got killed. A week later.
All right, so back in, we're probably about 1941 then?
No, it was about that my brother got killed.
No, let's talk about your brother going into the army.
Mm-hmm.
Right now he's still
He
working.
didn't go into the army. What happened was, well, he went, but what happened was in 1943, I think, the Polish citizens were free already. We had the same privileges as the Russians. And then Russia started organizing a Polish army. They called it Kościuszko Army. Sam and Benjamin, they were together, and they were coming in the NKVD at that time, which is KGB called now, looking for Benjamin and Sam Perel to take him away into the army. My mother was hiding them, and they avoided. They came in to search the house. They were not there, and they didn't take them. But then they came in another night, and they just took him away, both together. They came in through a window, and they took them away. At that time, my brother Benjamin, he became an officer of the Polish army.
Right away.
Right away. And he was training. There was the 1st Division, which he was together with Sam, and they took him away not to send him to the front, but to teach the 2nd Polish Division. So,
how was he taught to train? Where did he get training?
If I'll say it, then I would be very prejudiced. Benjamin was a genius.
Right, but you're talking about training, not just
training.
Brightness, like how to carry a gun, how to shoot, how to.
The Russian army trained him.
Okay, so he already went. So he went in, then
he was
out.
Together with Sam and other thousands of people, and he trained the 1st Division, Polish Division, and they took Sam immediately on the front. And Sam was immediately wounded, and he was lying 24 hours on the front, and they couldn't get him away from the front because the fire was so great that nobody was able to get over there. They took, I don't know whether you know, during the war, they took sleds and dogs, and they put him on, and they took him away. Sam. They took him to Moscow, to the hospital, and during the war, you couldn't go from one town to the next town in Russia unless you were a big shot or you paid for money over there. You were able to buy the whole government.
And we're talking about when he was shot.
Yeah.
So you told me before he was shot and they couldn't get him for at least a day.
Yeah, and they got him off.
Right. Okay.
And they took him to Moscow Hospital. And in Moscow Hospital, my brother Benjamin wrote us that don't worry about it, my brother will dance. He knew already about the amputated his leg. He'll be okay and everything all right. He managed to get a visa to go and see his brother. And my father and my sister, Matel, we managed to pay a lot of money, and they went to Moscow to see him. And they saw him. He was in Moscow Hospital, and then they took him to someplace else. And then he got malaria. He was very sick. But he came back, thank God.
Did he have a prosthetic then, or
He had a prosthetic, but not the ones that they have today.
no?
It
But
was 1,000 pounds.
I remember the ones when I was very little. Was it that plastic or wood?
No wood, mainly wood.
Okay.
Wood and leather on top.
I just remember knocking on it.
Yeah.
But did they give that to him like when he came home, or did he have to use crutches?
Well, he went with that with crutches in the beginning.
So, but he was able to put a foot down. It didn't.
He put in
it
a
wasn't
foot.
just an empty
Yeah,
space.
Yeah, he put the foot in.
Okay.
He put in the
Did
foot.
they give that to every? Well, you don't
But
remember.
he used to get calluses that used to kill him, especially summertime. Excuse me, because those days, usually when they amputate,
They take extra bone, right? I know.
they take out extra bone.
You don't have to tell
and
me.
they take the skin and cover it up.
Right.
And what happened? He had the bone, and when the bone is, he was okay. But later on, when we came to Germany, he had another one done. But Benjamin, they took him away, and he became an officer, and he was teaching the 2nd Division. And he had a lot of privileges, but he got killed just before the war ended. I wanted to go a few times, but to see where, what, and when. And at that time, I don't know, you saw in the booklet his name, Benjamin. And I was under the impression, they said it was, a mental block, that he was killed in Czechoslovakia. What is the
Prague.
Prague. That he was killed in Prague. That's Czechoslovakia. And that's all I knew. Prague is Czechoslovakia. But then, in that book, it said Prague, Warsaw. And it was a massive grave. His friend that was with him said that artillery shell killed him.
So, when he became an officer, when did they move you from that town you were in Russia to the next town? Was the next town Siberia?
Siberia, we were there not long. In Siberia, we came.
Was that the next step?
They took us away. They took us away from Yoshkar-Ola by boat to Siberia because the Germans were close to Moscow bombing, and we weren't too far away because we lived next to a railroad station. And the first thing that the Germans did is bomb around the railroad station. So they took us away to Siberia. Siberia, we were there for not a long period of time because it couldn't exist there too long. We lived in a house, if you call a house. All the weeds and everything else was our roof.
So you were about 10 years old at that point?
I was something like that. All the roof was from the weeds, the cover. It was freezing.
How many months did you spend in Siberia?
I don't remember exactly.
I thought it was a year and a half, so it wasn't
I
that long.
don't, something like that, but I don't know. And going there to school, we didn't have what to eat. My mother, I remember, had her wedding ring. She gave away the wedding ring, and we got a pail of potatoes. Over there, did not go by weight, but a pail. She came home with a pail of potatoes. They were frozen potatoes.
So they didn't give, it was communist Russia, right? They didn't just give you proportion for...
Yes, they gave us 200 grams of bread a day. And the 200 grams of bread, my sister went once with all our cards from the whole family. She came home There was no bread. She ate up all the bread, walking from the place to the house. She was hungry. She ate. She didn't know what she was doing already. She was hungry, starving. When Benjamin was there, we had a lot of lentils that he managed to put it between the pans and we ate. If they would have caught him, they would have shot him.
In Siberia, you had this, and you already knew about, when you found out about Benjamin, that was in Siberia before?
After. I think after. Because we came back to the same town. They took us back to the same town.
After Siberia?
After Siberia. Because it looked like the Russian army beat back the Germans, and there was no problem as far as them bombing our area.
So Siberia wasn't a punishment for you, it was to
No,
keep
no,
you
it was
safe.
not. They took us away because they didn't have where to put us.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was impossible to be there.
Did Sam join you in Siberia?
Sam, I think he came back to Yoshkar-Ola.
It's by himself.
Yeah, after they amputated the leg. Yeah. But we were there, and it was horrible. We didn't have what to eat.
As a veteran, as an injured veteran, did they treat him more with respect, or he was still...
Well, let me put it this way. When he came back, and he was very unique in speculating. I mean, if you didn't speculate over there, and what was the speculating? The soldiers came back from the army with a Chanel, the coat.
Jackets, yeah.
The coat, not jacket, coat. He could have bought from a Russian and sell it to somebody else and make some money. And he was very good at it. Benjamin couldn't do that. My father, forget about it, he was dead completely. He couldn't do these things. But he was a good speculator. At one time he went down to the market, and a Russian, I don't know whether I told you that, a Russian told him, "You've raped, you Jew." And at that time he walked with a cane, and naturally he was very bitter. "Here I lost a leg fighting for you, and you calling me Jew." He picked up the cane and hit him over the head. He split his head and he was on the ground bleeding. A policeman came over, asked him what happened, and he told him, "Я воевал за него. I fought for this bastard, and he's going to call me dirty Jew?" They picked the guy up and they locked him up. During the war in Russia, after we were freed as Polish citizens, you couldn't call a Jew. They hated you. We all knew that they anti-Semitism, but they weren't allowed to, because communism, everybody's free, everybody's the same. Whether you are general and I'm a porter, I'm the same as you are. You understand? So you couldn't say that he's a Jew, a dirty Jew, and he was so bitter, my brother. I was 18 years old, 19, I lost a leg fighting for you, and here you're going to call me Jew? Almost killed it. But the anti-Semitism was great there.
So then you, okay, so now
We came back there after the war. We all going back to Poland. Don't ask me why, what, and when. That was the
as
normal
far as
thing.
you're concerned, Russia was probably better for you.
No, of course not.
Well, when
Oh, wait.
because you grew
Well,
up there, that's
yeah.
what you knew.
Yeah, right. Okay. After I tell you the next story, you'll say that, of course, Russia was better. When we came back to Poland, we had a lot of privileges. We couldn't go back to our town. It was all destroyed. So they gave Poland certain areas. Russia gave them certain little towns, it belonged to Germany. We came back there. I started going to school, was beaten up every single day. Żyd Pochata, dirty Jew, Polish. And it came to a point that a Jew couldn't walk around with a beard, just like in Germany, would have cut off his beard and beat him up. So what happened was, there was such thing as bracha from the underground from Israel. At that time was no Israel, Palestine. Tough guys, you know, bitter. They lost their mother, they lost their father, a sister. They came down and they tried to make deals to get us out of Poland. You couldn't stay in Poland.
Could you leave on your own?
What?
Could your parents move,
Where you move?
to Russia or to...
No, no. You never heard that song? Where shall I go? That was the song created exactly for us. There was no place that we could have gone. No place. So, it was the underground, and the decision was that we got to run away from Poland and try to get to the 5 zones. The American zone, Russia zone, English zone, French zone. And the only way to do that is to pack yourself up, and the only thing you were able to take was a knapsack, no valuables, nothing. And we were supposed to smuggle from the Polish borders to the Czechoslovakian border. And they told us, we were lying, I'll never forget it, we were lying in a garden waiting for the signal to go. And they kept on warning, no child is allowed to cry. Nobody's allowed to cough, because we don't want to kill them. My father, should rest in peace, was a smoker. He had a cough from cigarettes. Okay. And we kept on closing his mouth, and all of a sudden a signal came out, shots in the air. There was all signals between Czechoslovakia to run. And we all ran through the border. Ran. We came into the Czechoslovakia border. Then they stripped us naked completely to see what we got, whether we didn't bring down. My older sister, she had a lot of gold, Russian gold, you know. She was a speculator, she was terrific. They took every single thing away. I'll never forget, I was collecting stamps. I had stamps from Palestine, a whole book. And they told us if they catch us, we'll be in trouble. And we passed through ocean. I threw it away, threw it in. Okay. The only good thing they did in Czechoslovakia for us is when we got naked, they sprayed us.
Deloused you.
Huh?
Deloused you.
Yeah. The lice used to eat us up alive. Okay. So since then, truthfully, never did I see. I heard they take a look in school and some kids have lice. Never heard of that. Thank God. Okay. Now, then there was American zone, this zone, and that zone. And they assigned us where to go. We were fortunate to go to the American zone. Not that it made much of a difference, but they took us into a DP camp in Germany. And the camp was Ulm. And Ulm, as I understand, what was his name? That was born there and lived there. Tell me, what's it? The Jewish guy that created a bomb.
Einstein?
Huh?
Einstein?
Yeah. Okay. He lived in Ulm, in our town, Germany. Now, Ulm was, I don't know whether you ever heard of Stuttgart,
Yes.
Munich. We were in between there. We were in the German barracks there, the army barracks in Ulm. We had it good already there. We had the joint distribution. You heard about joint, right? That's the Jewish organization that helped refugees. The joint distribution came into our camps. They brought in clothes.
Now, did you learn German there?
No, Hebrew.
Now, by the way, about that time, so we're talking 47, you were turning 13. Did you get bar mitzvah there in the DP camp?
What is that called? I don't know. What is bar mitzvah?
I don't mean a party, but I meant you.
No.
You told me.
I was never bar mitzvah.
I thought you told me that Bubby took you to like a little steeple and you cheder.
The cheder, they taught us Hebrew. I should be able to daven, but bar mitzvah it never even entered in anybody's mind. We were happy with
I
our
thought you
life.
read from the Torah and you got.
No, never read from the
So
Torah.
to this day you aren't bar mitzvah?
No. So when are you making my bar mitzvah? But I want a big bar mitzvah.
I got that.
Okay.
I would make you a bar mitzvah.
Okay, but I want to. What do you
I
call
got the
it?
party, but
I want a party too.
Okay.
Okay. So what happened?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't have one later
Okay.
on in life.
All right. There's a lot of things you're going to be surprised. Go ahead. So that was it. We were happy that we had a piece of bread to eat. We were happy that we were alive. We were happy that we could breathe. We were happy that we are not afraid for anybody.
No.
We were happy that the bomb is not going on top of
Okay,
us.
so at this point you're in the DP camp. When you were I'm sure you were listening into the adults to find out what's happening. They were talking about going to the new country, Israel?
In the P camp, immediately they organized like a Hebrew school. Okay? Hebrew school in the P camp. And we were learning Hebrew. And we had organizations. There was Bita, there was Mizrahi, Agudat Yisrael, the religious thing. And immediately I got into Bita. And we had, let's say, meetings. We had entertainment. We had ping-pong we played. And we used to get from Israel, Palestine that time, people come down and preach to us. And we had a lot of buses that left from our camp, unauthorized, illegal, to go into Palestine. And they went through France during the night. I was on the bus at that time too, because I was a big Zionist. I was...
But you were 14. 48 we're talking, right?
yeah, whatever, I don't know.
You didn't come to America till 48?
49.
49, so, okay.
So what happened was, they like injected to us Israel. That's all we knew is Israel. We gotta go to Israel. And a lot of my schoolmates, they left to Israel. They fought in the 1948 war. A lot of them got killed. And a lot of families, that the whole entire family went to Palestine, and at that time was a big thing to us, cement mixers. They bought cement mixers, hand cement mixers. And that was a big thing. They bought that, and they left to Israel, and they made a good living from the cement business. And I was supposed to go to Israel. They threw me off the bus because my mother started screaming and crying and this. And my aunt wrote a letter personally to me. I promise you, if you want to go to Israel, I'll make sure you go from America.
Your aunt.
My aunt.
So the aunt from New York already contacted your
Oh,
family.
we were writing letters, and they used to send us packages.
We
yeah.
skipped over this.
Well,
That's what we're trying to get. Yes.
yeah, okay, so I skipped. Could you go back? Rewind.
No. So when you're in the DP camps, they found you, your family.
No, they knew us in Russia too.
They did.
Oh yeah, we had good family. My mother had very good family.
That's amazing because, like you said, without the internet, without something, that they're able to locate you.
There was letters.
Yeah, but it was wartime. Your houses were destroyed. You ran through the night. You were moved
No.
from town to town.
No, we did not move from town to town. We were fortunate. We stood in towns. We were in Russia only in 2 towns, Yoshkar-Ola and the 11th kilometer. That's the only thing we were in Russia, and Siberia. And after that, we went back to Poland.
So they wanted to bring you to the United States.
They didn't ask us to bring us to the United States. In 1949, we were getting always letters, and actually they wanted us to get to the United States, the whole family.
So you're already 4 years in a DP camp.
4 years, I think it was 3 years something.
Oh, because after the year you spent
Yeah.
a year in Poland and then...
So we went, and they sent us papers and all kinds of stuff, and it wasn't so easy because it took time. The paperwork, you had to go through the CIA, and God forbid if you did something just a little off shade, you couldn't. You had to have a financial sponsor to get a job, and you had to make sure that you have an apartment,
So this is like Tanta Chaya?
Tante Chaya,
So like,
and Cecil too. Cecil, I don't think you ever knew.
okay.
She
So Tanta
died.
Chaya, they were able to
Not only her,
support?
she had 3 or 4 brothers, okay? And they all chipped in. We used to get, in Germany, we used to get a couple of times $5 bills.
And American money you could spend there
Yeah, American money was gold all over.
during the war.
All over, yeah. And we were the only ones that so we didn't have no money when we came. A lot of speculation with the American soldiers. But my father, should rest in peace, was one of those that wouldn't allow my brother. My brother could have had a lot of privileges because he lost a leg, but my father wouldn't let him. He always said, they're going to catch you, catch you. One time he bought some cigarettes from American soldier and goes on the bus from our town, from Ulm to Munich. CIA agents get on the bus. So my brother ran down, they confiscated the cigarettes, so he lost. He came home, he says, Tate, you told me they're going to catch me. You said it so long until they caught me. And that was it.
And then you finally came in, and it was, when you finally made you came by ship.
Ship.
Remember the name of the ship?
Oh, sure. General Holbrook.
The general. How long did it take you?
10 days, 10 miserable days.
Where'd you sleep, on the decks, or was it a hold that you slept in?
It was like cats, 1, 2, 3.
So like hundreds of people in it together.
Oh, sure. But
Men and women together.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like they were worried.
Yeah. And they gave us cards to go to eat. They didn't have to worry about me. I never ate because I was on the floor. crawling, never walked. I couldn't walk until they told us we came into New York. You gotta all get on the deck.
Because you were seasick, you mean?
Deadly seasick. The only one that was good, should rest in peace, Sam. He used to eat my cards.
Do you remember, like, people made a big deal the first time they saw the Statue of Liberty and everyone came running to the deck?
Well, that's what I was started telling you. It came up in the morning, dark, this announcement. You, in America, everybody's got to go on the deck and the Statue of Liberty. And we saw the Statue of Liberty. And from there, we went down. And it was July the 2nd. And my aunt got us a room in Central Hotel in New York.
Do you remember when you went through like that immigration in Ellis Island? Did they like ask you? Did you like you didn't understand them because they were speaking English, right?
Yeah, and besides, there was nothing to go and look by us. We didn't have no bombs.
Oh, because you were the DP immigrant, so you were basically on American soil in the DP camps,
we
right?
were on American soil before we went in Hamburg, Germany. We came from.
So you already checked out. Did you go through Ellis Island?
I think so, sure. But the point is
I
this.
don't think so.
Huh?
I don't think so.
You know something? I don't think so, really.
My
We came
husband
in right
came
away
the
to
same
New York.
day.
No, we came
Different
into
ship.
New York.
Wow.
And there was I remember a garage, and we all went through. And the family
We
waited
didn't
for
go
us.
through Ellis Island.
Yeah, the family waited for us, and that was it. And they took us into the hotel.
It's been an amazing.
And as
sight.
a kid, I'll never forget it. I never heard Jewish before, Jewish radio. And in the hotel, it's July the 2nd, and here, all of a sudden, we put on a radio, and Jewish.
And they gave you
They talked
clothes.
Jewish. No, they did not. Hayas gave us some clothes. But we didn't live in Hayas, we lived in a hotel.
But how about even the streets in New York? Were you in amazement?
Streets of New York. I don't remember that
With
time.
cars and buses and things.
Of course, this was a different world completely to us. And then when I heard the Jewish radio speaking Jewish, I says, is that possible? How could it come through a radio in Jewish language? Never heard of it. Jewish radio? Jewish people to talk on a radio? And then I'll tell you, July 4th, we in the hotel, and we hear the salutes, all the, what do you call it?
Did they warn you that that was going to happen?
Yeah, sure, that it's saluting. And,
Okay, so you didn't think it was people shooting and bombing again?
No. We were, listen, after the war we knew already, okay? Because the Germans were down the hill. We were kings and they were, but they were much smarter than we were. We were getting in the DP camps certain food, which we didn't know how to eat it, what it is. And they were smarter. They took it from us, and we asked for bread. They gave us bread.
Okay, one last question. In the DP camps, is that the first time you saw the concentration camp survivors, like what they looked like?
Mm-hmm.
And you knew there were people like worse. When you guys first saw them, did you try to speak to them and find out what happened, or?
Well, you see, there's a lot of skipping. When we went from Russia, and we went going to Poland back, so we went all by train stations, and they used to stop the trains, and everybody used to go out. Did you see Mr. Perel? Did you? We thought that he's alive. Everybody screaming. And that's how you met a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, sure, we saw him over here. As long as he's alive. Understand? It's every half an hour or so, the train stopped. And screaming, Did you see this one? Did you see that one? Did you see that? Sure.
All right, we're actually gonna wrap it up, okay? Sorry, and I want to do more of this, but I'm already making my patients wait a half an hour.
You did great.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
That's great.